Let's talk about auctions, because there's a really interesting vernacular around auctions, and you really have to understand what's going on. And the first one is when an auctioneer says it's on the market, and they don't always use those words. They can use all sorts of different terms to indicate that, we're playing for keeps, highest bidder will win. There's all different ways of expressing that it's on the market, but usually it is just to indicate that the bidding has reached the reserve or exceeded the reserve, and the property will be sold to the highest bidder.
And the reserve price is the minimum price that a seller will accept at auction. So they write that down, they present that to the agent/auctioneer, and when that reserve is set, only the owner is obliged to sell if the price exceeds that. They can change it too. So that's the reserve price. And there's a vendor bid. Do you get many of them in Queensland?
We can have unlimited number of vendor bids in Queensland, and really it's just a bid made by the auctioneer on behalf of the seller. That's all it is. It's not a real bid, but a public statement that the seller is not happy with the amount of the last bid, and it's used to keep bidding moving forward. Now, there aren't many vendor bids going on at the moment because buyers are bidding, and these auctions are just having a life of their own. But in a slower market or where there's not many bidders, vendor bids, that's how they're used. Unlimited number in Queensland, but only one in New South Wales. Is that right?
Yes, only one. Only one allowed. There's, once again, state by state, different rules. I mean, the vendor bid makes me laugh. Sometimes in the middle of an auction, I've sort of heckled because they've used a vendor bid and then they're wanting me to bid on top of that. I said, but the vendor just bought the house back and I'm not interested in competing with the vendor. So another term that is used in auction is the first right of refusal. So what they'll say, and this is not going to happen too much in a hot market, of course, but you're certainly going to see it in a slower market. And markets aren't always hot. Let me tell you, if you're looking to buy now, you might think markets are always hot. They're not always hot. So in a slower market, you'll get often the auctioneer will say, look, the highest bidder here, if it passes in, you get the first right of refusal. Now, what that is, generally speaking, is a courtesy and the opportunity for them to buy the property at the reserve price after it's passed in. It could also be a clause in the contract that gives a potential buyer the right, first right to be the first party to put an offer in once it's for sale. There's a few other bits and pieces there, but generally speaking, it's one of those things that's offered at auction. It's more a courtesy than a proper right.
Yep.